Hi guys, how are you today? Sorry the Bible readings are so late today. Haven't been feeling the best today. I'm going to begin with your Jeremiah reading, where we left off yesterday, reading from the Voice this week. We're going to begin with Jeremiah chapter 33 through chapter 34. It's hard to get these glasses on with these earphones on. I misplaced my good glasses somewhere. I'd lose my head if it wasn't attached. That's the truth. These ain't the best glasses anymore. It's my old prescription, so... Actually, the other ones are old too, but these are even older, so they're a little blurry, but... Let's see what we can do. Jeremiah chapter 33 through chapter 34 today. For a second time the message of the Eternal came to Jeremiah as he was being held in the court of the guard. The Eternal who made the earth, who formed and fashioned it, the one whose name is the Eternal, has this to say. The Eternal One says, Call to me, and I will answer you. I will tell you of great things, things beyond what you can imagine, things you could never have known. I, the Eternal God of Israel, tell you that all these public buildings and royal palaces have been dismantled in vain. You thought you could strengthen the city walls with scraps of those buildings, but it is a useless defensive against a siege ramps and swords of the Chaldeans. In this fight the city will be filled with the dead, whom I will destroy in my anger and wrath, for I have hidden my face from this city because of their wickedness. Nevertheless, keep watching. I will restore this city and heal the wounds of my people. I will lavish them with peace and stability. I will bring both Judah and Israel back from captivity, and I will rebuild their land to what it was before. I will cleanse them from all the sins they committed against me, and forgive all the wrongs they have done, and all the ways they rebelled against me. Jerusalem will have a sweet-sounding name once again. The good I do for her will bring me joy, praise, and honor among all nations of the earth, for they will be in awe and tremble at the peace and prosperity I give to this city. Listen to me, Jeremiah. You say this place will become a desolate wasteland with no people and no animals, but it will not always be so. The towns of Judah and the streets of Jerusalem may indeed become lifeless, but I, the Eternal One, promise you the silence will be broken. Once again you will hear the sounds of laughter and joy, the sweet words of the bride and bridegroom at a wedding, and voices of those who bring thank offerings to the temple singing, Give thanks to the Eternal Commander of heavenly armies, for he is good, he is faithful, love endures forever. All of this will happen because I will restore the riches of this land to what they once were. I, the Eternal Commander of heavenly armies, promise, even this desolate place with no people and no animals and all of its ruined cities will once again have pastures where shepherds will rest their flocks. In the towns of this country city, in the villages of the western hills, in the cities of the Negev, in the territory of Benjamin, in the vicinity around Jerusalem, and in the cities of Judah. Once again, flocks will be cared for by a faithful shepherd who will count each and every one of his sheep. Look, the days are coming when I will fulfill the promise I made to the people of Israel and Judah. In those days, when the time is right, I will cause a righteous branch to sprout from the old stump of David's lineage. He will do what is right and just in the land. In those days, Judah will be liberated, and Jerusalem will live in safety. And the city will be called by his name, The Eternal is our righteousness. I tell you, the royal dynasty of David will not cease. The throne of Israel still belongs to his family. Remember this, even as other kings rule over you. Remember also that the line of Levitical priests will not cease. For all time they will stand before me, offering burnt offerings, grain offerings, and making sacrifices. Again, the word of the Eternal came to Jeremiah. The Eternal One says, if you can figure out a way to break my covenant with the day and with the night so they do always arrive on schedule, the very rhythm of life on this earth, only then will my covenant and my servant David be broken and his son not rule from his throne. Only then will my covenant with the Levitical priests who minister before me be null and void. I will make David's descendants, along with the Levitical priests who minister before me, so numerous they will seem like the stars of the skies that cannot be counted, and the sands of the seashore that can never be measured. The word of the Eternal came to Jeremiah again. The Eternal One says, have you noticed what some people are saying? The Eternal chose these two families, Israel and Judah, but he has now rejected them. They clearly despise my people. They don't even consider them a nation any longer. But again, this is what the Eternal promises. Just as I am not about to stop ruling the universe with fixed laws so that the day and night become confused, I will likewise keep my promise to the descendants of Jacob and David. My servant, I will not reject them. I will not forget the covenant I made with David, that one of his descendants will rule over the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I will restore their fortunes and have mercy on them. King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon led his army and all the kingdoms and peoples of his empire to begin the final assault against Jerusalem and all the towns and villages. One by one they fell. As his dreaded ruler and his vast army drew closer to Jerusalem, the word of the Eternal came to Jeremiah. The Eternal One says, the Eternal God of Israel has this to say, go and deliver this message to Zedekiah, king of Judah. I, the Eternal, am about to hand this city over to the king of Babylon, and he will burn it to the ground. As for you, you will not escape from him. No, you will be captured and turned over to the king of Babylon. You will have to stand before him and look this powerful ruler in the eyes as you are sentenced to exile in Babylon. But hear this promise from the Eternal, O Zedekiah, king of Judah. I declare that if you obey me now, you will not die in battle, but you will die in peace. People will burn spices at your funeral in your honor, just as they did for your ancestors, the kings who ruled before you. Mourners will weep for you, saying, oh, our king is dead. I, the Eternal, promise you this can still happen. The prophet Jeremiah faithfully related all of this to Zedekiah, king of Judah, while both were still in Jerusalem. This was when the Babylonian king's siege of Jerusalem and the rest of Judah's city was underway, with Lachish and Azekah, the only other fortified cities that had not been conquered. Now, as the siege continued and the conditions became more severe, another message came to Jeremiah from the Eternal after King Zedekiah had made a covenant with the citizens of Jerusalem to free the slaves in the city. The king commanded all those who held Hebrew slaves to release them, both men and women, so that no Jew would hold a fellow Jew in slavery. So all the leaders and people of the city entered this covenant and agreed with the king to free all of their Hebrew slaves. Not long after the people had freed their slaves, they changed their minds and forced the men and women they released back into slavery. It was then that a word from the Eternal came to Jeremiah regarding the people of Jerusalem. The Eternal One said, I, the eternal God of Israel, am reminding you that I made a covenant with your ancestors when I rescued them from slavery in the land of Egypt. I told them, after 6 years of service, a fellow Hebrew slave must be freed from slavery in the 7th year. But your ancestors never took my directive seriously or obeyed me. Not long ago, you changed your mind and did what was right in my eyes. You set your kinsmen free from bondage. You even established a sacred covenant before me in the house that bears my name. But now you have reversed yourselves, turned around and broken that covenant. You have defiled my name by forcing these men and women you freed back into slavery. That is why I proclaim the following. Since you have disobeyed me and not declared that your fellow countrymen are set free, I will now set you free from my protection. I declare that you will be free to die by war, disease, and famine. The destiny I set before you will terrify the watching world. Those who violated this covenant with me will now be treated like the calf they cut in two and walked down when this promise was made. The Eternal One says, the leaders of Judah and Jerusalem, the court servants, the priests, and all the people in the land who walk between the halves of the calves will suffer a common fate. I will hand them over to their enemies, to those who want them dead. Their corpses will not be buried. They will lie on the ground to become food for the birds and wild animals. I will also hand Zedekiah, king of Judah, and his officials over to their enemies, to those who want them dead. Although King Nebuchadnezzar and his army have pulled back from your city, this is only temporary. I, the Eternal One, will give the order and call them back to Jerusalem. They will fight against this city, capture it, and burn it to the ground. I will use the army of Babylon to destroy the towns of Judah, so no one can live there. And that's where we're going to stop today, guys, with our Jeremiah reading. That was Jeremiah chapters 33 and 34 for today. I hope you guys have a great rest of your Sunday, and I will get your daily Bible reading up here in just a few minutes. Bye, guys. God bless.